Cricket et al. It's a website. It's a podcast.
Pete, it's a way of life. It's Gideon Haig over here.
Peter Lawler over here.
And welcome to Cricket et al., your independent cricket podcast. Captivated by Champions Trophy fever. Pete, can you... Oh, look at you. You're so excited. You're bubbling over.
I am. I just can't believe they're having a Champions Trophy and we're not there, Gideon.
People are scheduling their Champions Trophy parties.
We're not the only people who aren't there.
It's a long list of absentees.
What if they threw a Champions Trophy and nobody came?
I know.
We really have got a bit of a moment, don't you reckon, around this event? Why does it exist in the first place?
Why does it exist? Because the
pops up
ICC
occasionally, does it?
Yeah. It's like lantana. You know, every time you cut it back, it returns twice as thick.
Right. And it's not the one that used to be played between the champion T20 teams, is it?
No,
it's not that
that
one.
Was the Champions League, Pete.
Champions League. Okay, Gideon. Yeah. So this is the Champions Trophy. Have we played it
originally
recently?
Started as the ICC Knockout Cup.
Benson and Hedges, Rothmans.
Anyway, the first one nominally was held in 1998, and it's been held sort of intermittently when times have been a bit tight and they've needed to shoehorn another ICC event into the schedule ever since. This will be the third time it's been held in the last 15 years. Last time it was held was in 2017. Pakistan won it, and Pakistan are hosting. Which is good. Their first event, ICC event since 1996.
It's not problematic at all, that, is it? Really?
Not problematic at all. No, that hasn't caused any difficulties.
Yeah.
And, well, where to begin? Well, for a start, there are a lot of people not going, and not just media organisations, but players too. Yeah. Australia's side is absent. Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, Mitch Marsh, and Marcus Stoinis have recently resigned from ODI cricket. Opportunities are plenty.
The bowlers are missing, but it's the batting that's the problem. But anyway, that's an on-field issue. Yeah. That's quite a list of players, isn't it? And each has their own reason.
Yes.
Stoinis, I reckon, is a tipping point kind of one. He's you know what? I really can't fit all of this international cricket into my very busy calendar. So you guys can have the Champs Trophy. You can have one-day cricket. I'll stick to the T20 stuff. I reckon you might see a few more of them do that after the World Cup as well. I reckon they'll back off and become a bit more freelance. Starc, completely understandable. I don't know what the personal reasons are, but if you read his wife's face, it's nothing too serious. And God, the poor bastard's just played 7 tests in a row. He is the only seamer who got through the 7 tests. So why would you want to go to Pakistan?
Well, he's also off to the Delhi Capitals for 2 months afterwards.
That's right.
It's easier to miss this than to miss that.
Now, Cummins, understandable. Cummins, you read Cummins's book, you read about the guilt that he felt about not being there when his first child was born. He said, that killed him. He's vowed never to do that again. They've rung the injury or played the injury card here, and he's injured. But fast bowlers are always injured. I think if you ask Pat, he'd probably say, "Look, really, I just want to stay home with my family." It goes on and on. But see, I don't reckon the Australian players just look at this tour and go, nah. A lot of them would still have PTSD from that 3 tests in Pakistan and the one days that followed last time. I know because I was there, but I wasn't in lockup like them. It's not that they didn't like Pakistan. It's they didn't like the way that they were basically, caged hens there. It's back into It's back into a lockdown situation. And there is not a single person in the world who wants to go into lockdown situations again. And the other element is,
the other thing
they have to travel. They have to travel, and Indians don't. And that shits them. Yeah. They go, how come India gets to sit up there in Dubai and play all its games in Dubai, and we don't know where the final will be because India. So they're just going, we don't want to do this.
Well, I'd say this about their security. Anyway. I'd say this about their isolation. I mean, part of the reason that they wanted that they wanted the reassurance of maximum security when they went there in 2022, and that resulted in them, being placed under total lockdown.
Look,
so you can't really have it both ways.
You can't blame Australia singularly for that, because that's what PCB insist on for all visiting teams and all visiting commentators. They tried to make us live like that when we were there. And Colo led the charge of saying absolutely not. Journos can't be sort of held it like that. And we had a great time because we got out and about and it was fun, but they don't. So, yeah. It's just another bloody tournament, isn't it? I'm not saying that the people in the team aren't determined to win it. I'm sure Steve Smith wants to win this tournament. I'm talking about the people who have basically gone, it's a bit hard. No thanks.
Well, in some ways, it's a free hit for Steve Smith. He does get the opportunity to lead. There's minimal expectations. I think anything that Australia manages to get on the board will be a bonus. They're playing England on Saturday in Lahore. They play South Africa the following Tuesday, I think in Rawalpindi. Then they've got Afghanistan back in Lahore at the end of next week. It could all be over in a week for Australia, and on the evidence of their form in those ODIs in Sri Lanka, you wouldn't expect too much of them.
No, that's why it's trending, isn't it? Yeah.
But look, it is an opportunity for those people who've got a Guernsey, which they wouldn't have expected until the very last minute, and it will be. The mercy of the Champions Trophy is that, unlike the World Cup, which does tend to linger on, it is short and it is sharp. That's the nature of having to get these tournaments into global schedules these days. When 2 months of the year is taken up with the IPL.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past them to win.
There's a fearless prediction.
That is absolutely fearless. God knows the way they're looking. It looks like they'll be knocked out in the first 3 games, but they could get their act together. They tend to experiment in warm-up games, especially leading into tournaments. They shuffle the orders around, but there's a few guys out of form, aren't there? Like Jake Fraser-McGurk isn't making runs. I pretend like I know these things. So I'm reading a book while this stuff's on. I don't think Short's making any runs.
No, you've got to think that India's the favourite here, because they do get the opportunity to play their 3 games in Dubai for political reasons, and they're in the group with Bangladesh, who you would think they would roll over, and Pakistan. They're unpredictable. Of course, we're playing away. And they're in with New Zealand. They start. Pakistan, New Zealand start on Wednesday. And that Indian squad, you look through it, it's pretty bloody good, isn't it? Not a lot of weaknesses when you look at it up and down. They've got Varun Chakravarti in there, who bowled so well against England recently. They lack Bumrah, but they're strong enough to leave Jaiswal out. And it's actually, when you look at it, you think, where would they fit Jaiswal into this team?
Do you reckon they're just getting that pitch right, that series of pitches right, just Goldilocks conditions for the Indians to play while over there in Dubai?
And it's a weird situation, because you're starting the tournament, you don't actually know where the final's going to be. No. Because if there's a semi in Dubai on the 4th of March, we don't know who's going to play in that, of course. Semi the next day in Lahore, and a final somewhere on the 9th of March. And of course, if it's India, it'll be in Dubai. If it's someone else, in that unlikely event, it'll be in Lahore. What a weird tournament! What a weird way to start a tournament. You don't even know where the final is. So, what are the prospects of you actually getting there?
And I'll put money down on 75% of Australia not knowing where they can watch it.
Yeah.
They'll go, they'll turn on 7. Oh, no, 7 have pulled the pin.
Yeah.
They'll turn on Fox. Oh, no, Fox haven't got it. Geez, where is it? And of course, it's Amazon Prime, which is not the first thing that comes to mind for sports fans. I had a call from 7 this morning. Gee, they're really happy the way Sri Lanka went for them.
Yeah, right.
That was I reckon that's a real positive for Australian cricket fans. I know I work for them, but to get free-to-air overseas coverage of overseas trips at this time of year, like often Australia go to South Africa this time of year, it was really successful for them. Yeah. So bit of competition in the market too. We don't know,
and it was a great time of year. Great time of year to sneak that in. They were like 2 bonus test matches. And they were really good test matches. Australia played extremely well.
Well, there was stuff to watch, wasn't there? There was Usman Khawaja, there was Smith, there was Inglis. And then when Australia were bowling, they were always taking wickets. The game was always moving on. So it really suited the time zone. So that's a positive, I reckon.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's Amazon Prime for this one, isn't it? Or whatever they call themselves, is it?
Yeah, no, Amazon Prime. I think I'll see if I cancel my
We
subscription.
like Amazon
I watched
Prime.
the cricket on there last time.
I like Amazon Prime. I like Jules there. She's a very nice woman.
These days, you look at your TV and you go, so which subscriptions have I got? I think I might still have Amazon Prime. I hope so.
I've just discovered I've had 2 subscriptions to the Washington Post. I had 2 subscriptions to Fairfax. Yeah. There's subscriptions everywhere. It's hard, and some of them are very difficult to get out of. Unlike the Cricket NL one, where the button's at the top of the email. Hey, Matt Kuhneman, you've been watching that. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, you were there, Pete. Did you have any sense that his action was in any way problematic when you were watching him live? Because that's who's made the call, isn't it? People who are watching him live.
Yeah, it is. Look, but they're in a better position than I am, sitting behind, sitting in the stands. There's been talk, there's been sort of snide talk from opposing sides, occasional opponents over the years in Shield cricket, which I've never paid any attention to. There was a little bit of talk during that Test series, even in the Cricket NL chat group, which you should go into. They miss you.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm sure I remember somebody alerting us there. I always put it down to hyperextension.
Yes,
and my rationale is you can't get through the first class system. You can't be coached by Daniel Vettori. You can't be bowling to people like Stephen Smith and somebody not say, I think there's an issue there. So I always thought, well, it's a hyperextension. People know better than me. It does look a bit odd, his action. There's no doubt about it. But I figure he's got this far. And I can't pretend to judge whether he's a chucker or not. I'd have to see it slowed down. I noticed that the Sri Lankan players said that there was occasional deliveries that got onto them much quicker than they expected. Right. And I was suspicious of those. But I've never heard that said in the Australian nets.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a question that he doesn't transgress every ball. It would be the effort ball that was at issue. And you would probably bowl in a slightly different vein in Sri Lanka than you would in Australia. So that might magnify the differences. I also think that the more you look at an action,
shooting through,
the more you look at an action, the more you begin to question it. And we go through periods in cricket where we start to look at actions, and then in between times we forget. Yeah. That's why there always seems to be a glut of throwing controversies at once. Like 3 or 4 bowlers get questioned at the same time. So don't be surprised if it happens with a few other players as well.
It's like the latest traffic crackdown, where drink driving or speeding or something like that. But look, in the summer, a lot of people, Australians, were saying that Bumrah threw. I mean, that was completely ridiculous. Yes. What Bumrah has is that hyperextension, and probably one of the more overstated hyperextensions. You get Dale Steyn had exactly the same thing when he was really flying. Yes. I reckon when Dale was on song, you could see that the wang in that arm similar to Bumrah's. That's something that a choice group of elite athletes have, is that hyperextending sort of joints. I hope that's the case with him. I think it is. I reckon he'll be back. He's due to play the Shield game this week, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Shield actually
cricket's back,
Shield starts tomorrow, in fact. We've got 3 fixtures on tomorrow.
Yeah.
You'll be going to New South Wales and Victoria.
I might pop down. I might pop down. Why not? It seems like a year ago that I went to the first game out at the prison,
Central,
the prison ground, and we saw Constance there. Yeah.
And South Australia are flying.
Yeah.
They're actually on the top of the Shield and the one-day competition at the moment.
Good coach, mate. They've got a good coach.
They've got a very good coach. They do. They got a very good start from Alex Carey and Nathan McSweeney.
Yeah,
Henry Hunt's been typically consistent. Nathan McAndrews had a very good season. He took that 7 for 11 against Western Australia at the Wacker, where they bowled out the Wackers for 66. So it's not an outstanding team. It doesn't have too many stars. And Jordan Buckingham's not a bad bowler. Liam Scott does a job for them. So they've picked themselves up and dusted themselves off. You wouldn't have tipped it at the start of the season, would you?
That's the clue to winning the Shield, though, isn't it? It's having a group of players who are there and abouts, but not quite there. Because if they're there, they're sucked up into the squad.
In no danger of being picked for Australia.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it always happens to your best player in the final. They get called up to be a travelling salesman with the squad. Hey, why don't we have a break and come back, because you can tell us what you've been reading. We've got a top 10, and we've got some exciting news about T-shirts and fundraisers that we should have probably mentioned earlier.
Let's do that. Have you done your top 10?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Kind of? Okay.
Yeah, well, I got to 4.
That'll do, mate. I got 6.
I'm a 9 out of 10 guy.
Back in a moment on Cricket et al. Pete, Saily. Yeah. What's Saily?
Well, I'm glad you've asked, Gideon. Saily. I'm the man to come to when you've got questions about Saily. Saily's a new eSim service app that's brought to you by Nord Security. There's several different eSim plans available in 150 countries. Now, what it is, you remember when we were doing when I was trying to do the podcast on the roof in Gaul?
I remember it well.
And because I only had my stupid Australian SIM, and I couldn't pick up any Wi-Fi. I didn't have Wi-Fi to do the podcast, so I ended up in all sorts of awkward spots. If I had Saily, when I'm abroad, I've got all that stuff. It's instantly transferable.
Exactly. I feel you, Pete. I feel you. You could have been doing the pod from the beach, surrounded by turtles.
Exactly.
If you'd had Saily.
If I had Saily, but here I am doing an ad for them, and I didn't have it when I needed it, but I will have it next time.
Yes,
sure. Yeah.
I'm sure you do. Isn't it amazing? With Saily, all you have to do is download it once. An eSIM can be installed only once, eliminating the need for users to install a new eSIM for each country. It saves you time, Pete. You don't need to wait in line at the airport to get a local SIM card. You avoid scams.
Yeah, scams at those railway stations and stuff. I've seen that happen. They've never got me, but you've got to be careful buying those eSIMs in those little spots in airports.
You minimise those roaming fees that you've just been complaining about. You stay connected. You don't have to wander around looking for a public Wi-Fi spot like Diogenes looking for an honest man.
We would not have got lost in Delhi if we'd had Saily. You remember that day?
I do. Trying to find it on Google Maps.
Yes, yeah. And if we had got lost, we could have called them because there's 24/7 support, and I'm sure they'd love to help us out. That's a beautiful
segue, Pete. Oh, I couldn't have scripted that better.
Yeah.
Anyone can get a Saily eSIM plan on the Saily website or through its apps. You can buy a plan. There are multiple plans in over 150 countries. You can install the eSIM. If you purchase the eSIM on the Saily website, you'll need to download the Saily app first. Activate the plan. If you activate your eSIM before you leave, you'll be able to easily connect to the local network when you land without the need for an internet connection.
It's like almonds, isn't it? You only you've got to activate them to get the best out of them.
So all that remains for me to say, Pete, is to just go to saily.com/cricket et al. And use the code cricket et al. To get an exclusive 15% off your first purchase. Can't say fairer than that, Pete. There's a QR code on the screen that you can scan, and there's a link in the show description. So there's no reason not to do this. It'll change your life. Okay, we're back on Cricket et al. While he was in Sri Lanka, Pete got very excited. We both got very excited about the new Cricket et al. Scorer, and we have a fantastic merchandising opportunity coming up for you. Pete, would you like to explain?
We've got a T-shirt, Gideon. A T-shirt. And better than that, it's a wagon wheel T-shirt of Usman Khawaja's innings done by Thomas Miles, who's just been the find of the series. Thomas has just revived the arts and craft movement and brought analog back to cricket scoring.
He's the William Morris of scoring, isn't he?
It's outstanding stuff. So that T-shirt's probably on its way to the printer very soon. So stand by, you can get that. I've shown Usman a little sneak preview of it. He's pretty excited too.
Is he right?
Yeah,
Okay.
he wants 15%. So that's coming out of your money. I don't think there'll be any money in this one, mate. What's the other thing? Oh, we're doing a fundraiser on March 2. Tell us about that, please.
Put it into your diaries now. It'll be afternoon, 4:00, probably start time on the 2nd of March. That's a Sunday in Melbourne. We are raising money for a friend of the pod, a long-term friend of the pod, our friend Mustafa Kamari, who's a Afghan refugee who's doing it pretty hard out here and is looking for a means of getting his family, who are stuck in Iran at the moment, out to Australia. We've decided to put our money where our mouth is and to commit. And it's a great opportunity for us to get the gang together in Melbourne, in beautiful Como Park, with a game of cricket going on in the background, a bit of cricket chat, a few special guests, and check local guides for ticket information, which we'll be disseminating on Cricket et al., the Substack cricketetal.com.
But it's a big bill. It's a big bill. It's not just you and me.
Oh, no.
It's the one and only Sam Perry from The Great Cricketer. Yeah, he's joining the bill with us. So I'm looking forward to having Sam along.
Yeah.
I wish Ian was there too. Hey, I actually went to Ian Higgins' Bucks party on Saturday night. How's my life going? Leave me alone for a second. Sue went to her mother's, and I got a call from some very excited
leave pass,
very very excited Pez and Higo wanted me to come down and join them at the pub. They were 2 days into their Bucks party. They were flying.
Okay.
But it was very entertaining, about an hour and a half, until they went down and started dancing to the Backpacker Band downstairs. I'm going guitar in the rocks on a Saturday night. My comfort zone, not. But I smashed a few tequilas just to sort of catch up for 40 minutes, and then I got an Uber home. I was home in bed by 10:30. Good luck to the boys.
When's Higo getting married?
He'll need about 2 months to recover from that party, and I hope that Pez is recovered by March too for this event. It's going to be fun.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Keep an eye out for tickets.
Yes, we promise we'll get organised shortly. Pete, what have you been reading?
Good. You know what I read? No Country for Old Men.
Oh, good book.
You know, I did that line, and I've always that line about how much you've lost on the toss of a coin. It got me intrigued as to how close the dialogues are.
Yes.
So I didn't have the book with me, so I downloaded the book and compared it to the movie script dialogue. It's only like a word or two out of place.
Interesting,
you know?
Right? So a very faithful adaptation.
It is an extremely faithful. It is almost like the Coen brothers have handed the actors the book and said, "Read these." You know, the dialogue is essentially just Cormac McCarthy dialogue, and there are so many great lines. Like what's that one you've used it before? Like you don't know what worse luck your bad luck's saving you from, and all that Anton Chigurh stuff, and the old right wing sheriff who reckons the bad times are coming with the drugs. I loved it, and you know what I'm going to read next?
Go on.
Josh Bornstein's working for the brand.
So am I.
A snap!
I'm almost finished.
Oh, really? Yeah. I've heard it's great. Yeah,
it's very good. Most enjoyable.
Yeah.
Strange to think that we might be the subject of a postscript.
Yeah.
There you go, Josh. We're doing our best for you. That's pure product placement.
Yeah, that's right. I might go back and read that at Paragon next, that Colin McCann book on the sort of Israel-Palestine sort of. It's a two-hander book. It traces a father's story on either side of the divide, might be a good time to do it. Either that or I'll go and watch the chicken shop episode, the Palestinian chicken shop episode of Curb for a bit of political backgrounding. What about yourself? What are you reading?
Well, apart from Josh, I've read a couple of really great books recently. They're actually just up in my bookshelf. I'm looking at them right now. I read a book called Judgment at Tokyo by Gary Bass, which is a I'll pull it down. Just a moment. I'll show you.
Yeah, you go. You do that. We'll just enjoy the background. All your wisdoms. Is that a complete set of wisdoms? Can you even hear me?
So it's this. It's very big.
Wow.
But I brought it on the recommendation of our old friend Ram Guha.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's a book about the War Crimes Tribunal in Tokyo at the end of the Pacific War. I read quite a bit about Nuremberg, but I'd never read about Tokyo before, and I just sort of thought, I need to fill a gap there in my sort of understanding of the jurisprudence of war crimes, and it's absolutely fascinating.
Why did that get less attention than the
well, I guess because there was
just
great
not Europe,
because the legal issue is it possible for a government to act illegally? Now, there weren't the statutes at the time that condemned, that prevented countries from going to war. In some respects, war was considered to be a natural extension of statecraft. There wasn't an obvious and egregious crime against humanity in the same way as there was the Holocaust kind of anchors the jurisprudence of Nuremberg. And there were interesting dissents. In particular, the Indian judge sided overwhelmingly with the Japanese defendants.
Really?
Saying that this was victor's justice.
What was the allegation against them, that essentially they'd committed war crimes? Is it just a broad?
Launching the war had been illegal, in particular by launching a surprise attack on the Americans at Pearl Harbor, and there were issues about atrocities towards prisoners of war, but it was ambiguous about the degree to which Japan's leaders had been cognizant of that, and there was also the question of Hirohito's culpability.
Time to bear the unbearable.
That's right, because MacArthur, as the governor essentially of the provisional government in Japan, wanted to maintain Hirohito's status as a symbol of continuity, but there was a strong legal opinion that if you were going to condemn Japanese leaders, Hirohito had to be part of it. So it's fascinating. All different people running in all different directions with confused objectives.
Yeah, he was too big to fail, wasn't he? Yeah, in a way, the emperor. Yeah, they couldn't drag him down for what the consequences of it would be. Yeah.
And I've also just read this. This is really good. That's about
Ryder's
Nuremberg.
Castle. What's that say?
It's about the reporters who went to report on the Nuremberg War Crimes Tribunal.
I think I've read some of that book.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, they're all based in some sort of guest house somewhere.
Yes, that's right. It's a big castle that was owned by the Faber-Castell Pencil dynasty. Made the billet for all the visiting reporters.
I think Hannah Arendt wrote some stuff from there based in that. It might. Yep. I've read that. Yeah,
they're all in there. It's absolutely fascinating. Some of my favourite writers like John Dos Passos and Rebecca West. Actually, I think Pete. I lent you.
That might be the Rebecca West book.
That's right, the one that I lent you when we were in England in 2023. Yep,
that's right. Yeah, that's probably where I read it. Yep.
Train of Powder. Yep, that's a great book, terrific book.
Anyway, there's a diversion.
There is a diversion. That's genuine etal. But we've got back to the Champions Trophy, and we've. I know that we're rather derisory about it, but we cannot pay it other than the ultimate tribute from Cricket Etal, which is a top 10. A top 10 songs inspired by the Champions Trophy. You've got 4. Don't worry, I've got 6.
I've got more than 4. I found an album full of Champions Trophy songs, so I've kind of had to herd that under 2.
Okay.
I better go first, I think.
Okay.
I'm going for Merle Haggard's song, One Day at a Time, brackets, Sweet Jesus, give me the strength to do every day what I have to do. Yesterday's gone, sweet Jesus, and tomorrow may never be mine. So for my sake, teach me to take one day at a time. God knows we will need prayers to get through this tournament, Gideon. We'll need the hand of sweet Jesus.
Okay, so Pakistan has been saying there are no security concerns whatsoever for any visiting teams. India has refused to take their word for it. I'm gonna summarise the Pakistan position by deploying "No Thugs in Our House" by XTC.
Oh, that'll go down.
No thugs in our house, Alia dear. We made little Graham promises he'd be a good boy.
Yeah. Yep. So that's good. Well, I've gone very simple. I've gone Little Richard because the record was lying next to me while I was doing this. Money, honey, to which the lyrics go, money, honey, ooh, ee. Yeah. Money, honey, ooh, ee, and then some other stuff. But that's what it's all about, isn't it?
It is all about the money.
Essentially about filling up the coffers of the ICC, or which is essentially filling up the coffers of the big three and whoever's left.
The one thing we haven't mentioned, of course, is the blazer, the mighty Champions Trophy blazer.
You mentioned the Champions Trophy blazer. Yeah, is it worth getting, is it?
Well, Wazim Akram thinks so in the ICC promotion for the tournament. So I've thrown into the mix Jacket Hangs. You know that Blue Aeroplane song?
No.
I really like the Blue Aeroplanes. A very underestimated band from Bristol. This is from their 1990 album Swagger. If you like twangy guitar and you like big booming drums and a drawling lead singer, Blue Aeroplanes, well worth catching up. In fact, they recently re-released Swagger as a double album with bonus tracks on it. I have to check that out.
Fantastic. Now, I've gone for a Grinspoon song and I've forgotten to write down. Oh, I know. It's Your World. Anyway, the chorus is Your World Champion Now. It's from Grinspoon's Guide to Better Living. I've got some lyrics for you. Flaccid, the best in the world. Apology glitter for the flitter with the punk girl. God knows you like it. We all know about you, sucker. Man, you're going to go far. You're world champion now. There you go, Grinspoon. Nice. It's a pretty hard rocking song. You ever seen Grinspoon?
No, I've never seen them, no.
No, neither have I. No. I like the concept of Grinspoon more than,
So huge political argy-bargy about where India were going to play their games with no one with clean hands in this. You know, Mohsin Naqvi, the PCB chair, who also happens to be Pakistan's interior minister, saying that politics and sport shouldn't mix. You then had the BCCI saying it was the government not letting the team travel, and then the government said it was the BCCI, and then Jay Shah. Given Jay Shah's filial connection to the government, it's hardly surprising that they're confused. And then Jay moves from the BCCI to the ICC in the middle of the dispute. So I'm invoking Politicians in My Eyes, Pete, by Death. Death, the all-black punk band from Detroit.
I remember
subject of the
excellent band.
Documentary, a band called Death.
Yeah,
the Hackney Brothers.
Did they regroup?
No, they reissued that. David Hackney died, and the band, but the band were rediscovered.
That doesn't stop you reforming. You just get different
absolutely
members.
Not. Yeah. No, there were only 500 copies released of the single 50 years ago. Hard to believe it's 50 years ago, but they were rediscovered by record collectors and punk aficionados, and the documentary itself is well worth checking out. A band called Death.
Hey, I went and saw the Bluesberries, the Queerdale house band, the other night. Yep. I'm pleased to say that they've added a James Brown song to the set, which they do very good version of that music that was played by the Meters. And they're on again, aren't they? It's around. I'm trying to find the date. I can't find it. Have you got it in front of you? I think it's the 28th, 27th. Look up. They're playing the Vanguard. There's one more gig. Well worth going to see. It was fun. What were we talking about? Oh, the top 10. Neil Young's Tonight's the Night is one of the great albums of all time. Mm-hmm. It's a maudlin, loose, shambolic, dark response to what's that one called? Harvest. It was basically, I belong back here in the ditch. It was kind of a Sinead O'Connor move, blow up your career. The live recording, while they were recording the album, they were going down and playing at the Roxy on the weekends and playing the songs from the album live at the Roxy. The live recording of that is possibly better than the album. some of the looser versions of the same songs, even more feel, which I know it sounds impossible. No, nonetheless, there's so many songs in that could refer to the Champions Trophy. One, Roll Another Number for the Road. God knows that's probably one way to get through it. New Mama, that's Pat Cummins. Tired Eyes, yes, we will have them. And Walk On, great song. Great banjo in that song. Yep. Anyway, there you go. All of Tonight's the Night, live at the Roxy by Neil Young.
Okay.
Yeah. And you've got one more, have you?
I do. Guilty Pleasure Band. A band I like immoderately and feel that I really shouldn't, which is the Cars, Rico Cars.
You do like Rico.
I do. It's strange that it's terribly overproduced, but it's terribly well done for what it is. Yeah. So
it's sassy, isn't it?
Yeah, mindful of the absences of Messrs. Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, Marsh, and Stoinis. I'm gonna invoke "Since You're Gone" by the Cars.
Since You're Gone,
Nice. Can
you hum it for me?
Since You're Gone. Since You're Gone.
All right. I go straight to the reels. Since the reels cover of "Since You've Been Gone, All That's Left Is a Band of Gold." Yeah. All right. We've gone on for a long time.
We do.
I'm going to meet a Cricket et al. Subscriber, Brendan O'Connor, who's he's a
turns up
Sydney Uni academic.
Turns up in the comments every now and again. Hello, Brendan.
Very good man. Got great taste in literature and politics.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to meet him for lunch at Cairo.
Yeah. Right. Hey, interestingly, this is good. I emailed you about this at the weekend. I wrote a piece on cricketetal.com at the weekend or last week about the thing. About the Wallace divorce, Wallace versus Wallace.
Oh, that was a great story.
Leonard Braund, the English all-rounder, was mixed up. Well, I've actually heard from a descendant of the Wallace family.
Are they suing?
No, they're actually it's actually the granddaughter of the chap's married to the granddaughter of Charles Wallace, and so he knew all about it. So once you go down one rabbit hole, it's a bugger trying to get out. So you just got to go the whole way if you in order to come out the other side. So I'm going to see if I can elicit any further information.
I felt like I was reading an intelligent version of a feature in the Melbourne Truth when I read that story. The salacious detail. It's the invasions of privacy. The he said, she said, and then, and all that sort of.
The divorce courts were were fantastic free entertainment in those days. Because malpractice or desertion had to be established in order for a decree nisi to be issued, and it all took place in front of a jury. Hard to believe, isn't it? A jury of 12.
Well, in some jurisdictions, you had to have photographs of the. That was the best way to prove, that it was going on. Yeah. So,
have you ever read A Handful of Dust, the Evelyn Waugh novel?
No,
fantastic scene in that, because of course the man had to be caught in flagrante.
That's right. Yeah,
it would be undignified for the woman. So the husband in A Handful of Dust has to volunteer to be caught in a hotel with a prostitute.
That's right. Yeah, take the fall. So just
what could
so they
possibly
can get out
go
of
wrong?
the marriage. While I'm here, I might as well have some fun. Yeah.
Okay, that's all we've got time for on Cricket et al. Great to have you with us. Look forward to following the Champions Trophy in desultory fashion over the next couple of weeks. I've made a rod for our own back, haven't I?
Thomas asked if he should do the score sheets for it. Maybe we could just get Thomas could do the score sheets and we could put them up that'll do.
I think they're like 4 a.m. finishes.
The poor bugger, can't have him working that way. Yeah.
Thomas, I'd hate to stand in your way. I'd hate to cramp your style, but that would be above and beyond the call of duty.
For a bloke with a job, yeah.
For an actual job, unlike us. And so, from Cricket et al., it's goodbye from me.
And it's good night from him.